Broads Media.
Welcome on in, everybody, to Sports Talk with Broads. Let's check in on the Fly guys, huh? What a massive win against Toronto. I can't stress it enough how important those 2 points were for the boys. My God, the Washington Capitals have arrived from the dead. The Detroit Red Wings with an epic, emotional W against the Columbus Blue Jackets of all teams. So you got to monitor these standings while the Islanders are also there. I mean, you're in control here. And I know you squeezed by, and there was a massive goal by Scott Lawton coming out of the box. Thank the Lord they were able to get a 2-goal lead again. But, of course, with a blink of an eye, it's a 1-goal game, and Urson, throughout the 60 minutes, was able to make some spectacular saves, which you desperately needed. We need 2 points, all right? I don't want to see what happened in Boston the other night, where, sure, the final score screams 6-5, but if you watch the game without a late surge, the Flyers were getting their asses kicked. That's unacceptable. Even when they saw Toronto prior to this most recent game last night, that wasn't very good either. They got their teeth kicked in. That can't happen. We got to find some dubs, and there's some aggressive opponents coming up, and it doesn't get any easier. Here's the Carolina Hurricanes on Thursday, so we'll see what happens. Of course, we get a little rematch against Boston, this time at home on a Saturday, 1 o'clock puck drop. Hey, you ever hear the Florida Panthers? They're up next after that. Oh, the New York Rangers, they're after that. So just something to look at moving ahead here in March. But the main topic and the main story surrounding this team is John Tortorella scratching the captain. And full disclosure, I don't like it. It worked, and the team had a response. They played fired up. They definitely had a lot of mojo. You could tell they were buzzing. They were on the toes of their skates. They were getting up in the forecheck. They were creating a lot of great scoring chances. Owen Tippett, man, this guy just flies through the neutral zone, just takes the puck on his stick, outskates everybody. It would have been nice if he could bury there on the breakaway, but just the fact that size, he has that speed, and with that ability to rip the puck, man, that skill set is absolutely filthy. And just when he does plays like that, I'm in awe. I'm admiring the hell out of it. The team was on 1,000 for sure, until obviously when the Maple Leafs started to create their urgency and when they were playing down with a few minutes to go and they knew it was desperation time. You were holding on for dear life and you were breathing very, very, very intensely and you were grasping for air. But when the Flyers were given their chances, they made the most of it. They're starting out the periods early, putting shots on net, creating traffic in front, taking away the goalie's eyes. Morgan Frost rips it on net, And I got to say, man, I don't hate Morgan Frost anymore. I'm sick and tired of it. Earlier in the season, maybe I was more along the lines of, you got to prove it to me. Morgan Frost is a nobody until I see something otherwise. I can't believe I still have debates with people online about Frost. He's pretty damn good right now. I mean, that's just what it is. I don't know if you want to stick to your guns and for some reason you're unwilling to change your opinion, but everything I've seen from Morgan Frost from the whole healthy scratch earlier in the season is John Tortorella being too mean and keeping him out way too long, while others like Bobby Brink at the time weren't necessarily playing their best hockey, but he's still in the lineup. Why is Morgan Frost getting picked on? And this ties together perfectly with Sean Couturier, because the reason why Torts does that is that's John Tortorella. Now, I don't agree all of the buttons that he pushes. I don't. I think sometimes it comes off douchey. I think Sean Couturier has struggled, but he's picked it up since those struggles, and I don't believe that he deserves to not even be dressed, especially during a playoff push in an intense little run that we're getting here and a battle for that final spot in the Metropolitan, the wild card standings. His ceiling is significantly higher than anybody else you plug in there. So while he may not be scoring a bunch of goals and all, first off, that was never a part of his game to be scoring a ton of goals. he's someone that you have to watch play the game, sort of, and it's not exactly like Noah Cates because Sean Couturier, once again, his ceiling is significantly higher than Noah Cates. But if you were to explain to someone who didn't know the sport of hockey how Noah Cates plays the game, you got to watch what he does without the puck. You got to watch his support. You need to see what he does in the D zone, see how he's able to be very effective as someone who's sound and very structured. Same applies to Sean Couturier. And I'm not telling you he's been playing his best hockey, but there is a big difference between someone like Sean Couturier may be struggling after not playing hockey for a few years, having a back injury, and then also playing 20-plus minutes for a while to start the season, running him into the ground. Now he's feeling the side effects from that. So there's a big difference between you shouldn't be dressed and Sean Couturier playing his best hockey here, right? Like, let's use another sport as an example. If Joel Embiid or if Tyrese Maxey or if somebody else wasn't necessarily playing their best basketball and went through a 2.5-week stretch of not shooting efficiently, do you bench Joel Embiid? No. Do you bench Tyrese Maxey? No. You just keep giving them the ball and let them work out of that slump. Sean Couturier, your captain, is the one that deserves that level of respect in my eyes. With that said, to give John Tortorella respect here, he doesn't give a damn who you are, and I've watched him bench Cam Atkinson a ton, a very respected veteran. I've seen him sit Joel Farabee for essentially an entire game, and if I remember correctly, it was the first half of a back-to-back. You dressed 11 forwards and 7D, so now you're down to 10 forwards because you weren't even playing him at all. He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't worry about that. Hell, he says getting tired is just a mindset, but in reality, there is something to be said about it physically causing you problems too, but he just thinks it's a mindset when you're tired. He loves to play these mind games, and there's no doubt about it that he's doing this to push Couturier to an uncomfortable level to see if he rises, and that's part of the John Tortorella experience. So I don't agree with it, but I acknowledge that he does this with no matter who it is. I've seen Travis Konechny miss some time. I've seen Bobby Brink miss time. I've seen Morgan Frost miss time when I didn't necessarily think it was time for them to miss time, but this is how he tries to get the best out of you. And the next time Sean Couturier laces up the skates and takes the ice for a game, you'd imagine he's going to play with his balls on fire and he's going to be out there being a man. So we'll see how he responds to the criticism. But my biggest fear is, how does it impact the fellas in the room that feel that this is just not how you treat a player like Couturier? Because at the end of the day, there is something to be said about the culture. And if he's trying to fix that culture, there's a way that this can damage the culture. But they won the hockey game, so they did have a level of response. If they went out there tonight, or excuse me, last night, because I'm recording this Wednesday morning, if they went out there Tuesday night against the Maple Leafs after the decision was made and they got their asses handed to them and lost 6-1, then I'd have more fear. But the team was playing well, so there is a response whenever he does these things that I don't agree with. For the most part, there is a response until Tortorella's voice gets dry, because obviously he does run it into the ground like a lot of hockey coaches do, where the message doesn't stick anymore. But I don't believe we are in that predicament yet. I find the reaction to this, though, very interesting, because you have the old school guys that say, I love it, sit his ass, Couturier sucks. He doesn't suck. All right, if you know anything about the game, he doesn't suck. There's plenty of reasons why he had a bit of he didn't play competitive hockey as aggressively as he's playing right now for years. He returns and plays extremely well for a while, and I don't know if it's just the adrenaline rush early on into the season, being excited for being back, your body not being sore yet, going through the hits in the corner, going through all the draws, the practices, back-to-backs, you name it. But now, yeah, he's in a bit of struggle mode, but that doesn't mean that he can't play anymore, and the Flyers are in a tough spot with Sean Couturier down the long run here. I just think he's going through sort of a physical response to what his body's been going through, and that's normal. Tortorella doesn't give a damn, though. Remember when Joel Farabee returned from his big injury, and it's like, hey, man, he's dealing with something pretty serious. I don't care. If you're on the ice, I need you to be great. If you're out there, I need you to be unbelievable. The biggest, I guess, hypocrite of it all, or the hypocrisy of it all, is there was a time where Scott Laughton was hurting your hockey team. He was actually physically destroying your hockey team on the ice. That's how pathetic he was playing. From my knowledge, my man hasn't missed a game. So for whatever reason, Scott Laughton can do no wrong, but everybody else in this franchise can. And is it because he has a letter? And is it because that maybe John Tortorella handpicked Scott Laughton for the A? While I don't know how John Tortorella felt about Sean Couturier, I was told by the head coach for years now that I will not be picking a captain and selecting somebody, so you can stop asking me now. So you can shut up and stop starting all these media press conferences and following up other people's questions with who's going to wear the C. Nobody's wearing the C. Then all of a sudden, Sean Couturier and a bomb drops on social media. Is that a play from the front office? Is that a larger play of, hey, this is our guy, we're committing to him, trying to create and establish a face of the franchise? Because without the captaincy, maybe you lose that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But I find it weird that for a while he was saying, I don't even want to go down that road and name somebody the C. And then out of nowhere, here's Couturier. And maybe I thought for a while that was just a typical mind game, the mental side of the game that Torts was playing with Coots because he was waiting for him to return, waiting for him to grab the locker room by his grasp and be the leader, because it was inevitable that he would eventually return and be that guy. We thought it when Claude Giroux was here, that Coots was the one waiting in sort of the crosshairs to be the next captain and solidify that spot. So I felt as if Torts was waiting for that moment, but maybe I was being naive and that's not the case. And now we're in a predicament where he doesn't give a damn about Coots, the letter, this and that, but Laughton can do no wrong. So I just find that strange as a whole. I do want to realize that the reason why maybe some of these games went as south as they did previously against Toronto or against Boston in the TD Garden, I'd imagine a lot of that has to do with where they are physically on the defensive side, with no Jamie Drysdale, with no Nick Seeler, with no Ristolainen. When there's breakdowns defensively, sometimes it could be more of the forward. Sometimes it could be not having people go to the house in the defensive zone to protect the net front. We saw Bobby Brink get benched for an entire game because as there was a wraparound behind the net in the defensive zone, he wasn't working his ass off to get to the far post, which then created an easy scoring chance for the other team, and they scored. While I didn't think that you could literally just blame him for it, this is what Torts does, and he got into Bobby Brink's face for a while there. Spit was flying out of his mouth, where all fans understood, yeah, we'll probably never see Bobby Brink again for this one. Yeah, he's probably going to sit right there and open up the door instead of the backup goalie, Felix Sandstrom, being the one to work the door. Hey, keep your ass right there, 10. Yo, 10, Bobby Brink. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the way that John Tortorella works. I don't like it, and here's my biggest issue with it. He did address the media post-game, even though he gave us no answer on why he did what he did. He went down the path of, that stays between me and the player. That stays between me and Sean Couturier. But here's where I have the biggest problem with Torts. The moment you did it, you have to go talk to the media. To send the assistant coach to have to answer questions about you scratching the captain is a disgrace. You hear me? That's pathetic. That's where I lose respect for Tortorella, because if you're going to do it, you stand up by your decision and you tell the world why you scratched your captain. This is national media news. This isn't us just nitpicking something here locally and us as Flyers fans just wanting to know. No, Frank Saravalli on the Daily Faceoff. I saw some things up at TSN. This was major news. Whoa, you scratched your captain how quickly after you gave him the nod and put that letter on his jersey and gave him him the respect. And one thing that really upsets me is Sean Couturier, when asked about it, was even discussing, I don't know exactly what I need to do. I'm trying to figure that out. So if you're telling me that Sean Couturier doesn't even understand exactly what he needs to improve on, how he needs to play better, because he has been playing. This isn't the worst hockey. The most recent run we've seen of Coots isn't even his down spots. So if you were willing to keep him in the lineup during his worst hockey this year, he starts to improve, and then that's when you decide to kick him out of the lineup. It doesn't really add up to me. But I want to play the full 1 minute and 47 seconds of Sean Couturier when he was told he was going to be a healthy scratch. It looked like he got some extra skating done with some of the other healthy scratches, and he was bombarded with some reporters. Bombarded's the wrong word. He was rightfully addressed by some of the reporters while he was in his locker. Take a listen here. It's about 1 minute and 47 seconds, and the end is really what sets off an alarm for me. Let's take a listen.
Talked yesterday how trying to fight off frustration is this kind of testing your frustration and patience?
Definitely. Like I said, I control what I can control. It is what it is. We move on.
Have you spoken with Tortorella about this yet or no?
Somewhat, but doesn't matter honestly what I think. Gotta leave my ego aside, I guess, and hopefully team finds a way to get a win here tonight, and I can get back into it soon.
You were the last guy off the ice. I know you're a pretty driven worker, but how much is this driving you even more?
Yeah, it's tough. I feel I've been putting the work in for a while. I know I've been struggling, trying to work on my game, so definitely frustrated the way I've been treated around, I guess, but lately, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Has he given you any direction on what he needs to see from you, or what you need to work on to make sure you're in the lineup and getting a lot more minutes than you have been?
Not really. I've gotten the same answer as you guys. Just need to see more. Still looking to find out what that is, but I'm trying every game. It's not like I'm just like sitting around or doing nothing. I think, like I said yesterday, I felt last couple of games with the limited ice time or opportunities I've been getting, been doing all right. But I guess we're going on, with the best lineup available tonight to get a win. So it is what it is.
So I don't like when I hear that I'm still trying to figure out. He told me I need more, I need to give more, and I'm still trying to figure out what that is. I feel if you're going to sit down someone like Couturier, we need to have more dialogue than just, I need more. What do you need me more of? Or what more can I get? Where are we talking here? What are we discussing? Do you need better D-zone coverage? Do you need more on the offensive side? Where exactly can I contribute at a higher level that will keep me in this lineup? This isn't Bobby Brink or Morgan Frost, and quite frankly, I think those guys even deserve the respect of that conversation too, but you can't just hit him with this broad statement. But Tortorella just doesn't give a damn, and he wants to make you so uncomfortable that you find a way out of this ugliness. And there have been examples of guys responding. Morgan Frost. I started off the show by saying that I'm a Morgan Frost fan now. I think the kid could play. And if you ask me this same question 3 weeks into the season, I'd say, get that guy out of here. I don't want to deal with the Morgan Frost nonsense anymore. So to give Tortorella credit, he flipped my mindset completely on the kid by pushing certain buttons that I deemed was a little too aggressive. So that's why this makes it very weird and awkward for me, because I don't like it, yet I've seen results. And if Morgan Frost can handle it, I sure hope that Sean Couturier can handle it. But I do think there needs to be better communication and more discussion about it exactly, because Sean Couturier has done a ton in this league and has been around for a while as a 1C before the injuries and all. And I mean, there's just something to be said about a certain level of respect when you have a Selke trophy in your back pocket. I mean, the dude is a top-tier player in this league, and sometimes I think you need to recognize that if you're Torts. And you damn sure can't be sending your assistant coach out there to answer questions because you're trying to hide behind the decision. That's a joke. If you're a leader and you make a decision, you stand by. You don't send your assistant coach. And by the way, grow up, Torts, on the Aunt Sanfilippo thing. I'm not answering your question. Shut up. Shut up. Answer the damn question and stop being a little whiner baby, you know what, because it's a joke in my eyes. Because the next question is the same exact damn question. What was the decision behind? I'm not answering your question. Shut up. Shut up. I can't stand that side of it. But there's a portion of this fan base that claims Torts can do no wrong, and I love him because he's old school. Most of those are probably old school Flyers people. He can do wrong. He does a lot of nice things, though, and he makes you uncomfortable. He does a lot of good things, but doesn't mean everything he does is right. It's very similar to how I feel about Howie Roseman. I think Howie Roseman does a tremendous job, and he is by far one of the best general managers in football. But that doesn't mean every decision he does is top-notch. If you let Hassan Reddick go this season, then it doesn't matter that you brought in Bryce Huff and brought back Josh Sweat and did some other things like draft Nolan Smith last season, hoping he could take a big jump. Letting Hassan Reddick go makes this entire defense less impactful. I don't agree with that decision, but I think Howie Roseman is good. I like what John Tortorella does from a overhead view and trying to rebuild this thing. I think he does a lot of good things. Just how to approach the job every day, bringing the right attitude, bringing the right energy, trying to answer the bell when adversity hits. I like what he does. It doesn't mean that I embrace everything that he does, because when you make a decision to scratch your captain, you speak that day. That day. That day. I had a caller bring up last night on WIP that he believes that was a growing moment for Rocky, and he was putting his assistant coach in a position so one day he could thrive as a head coach when dealing with a decision like that, and I completely disagree. Trust me, this was not John Tortorella trying to blossom Rocky as a coach. This was him hiding, okay? This was him hiding. So here is my tweet when I first saw the news. Coots does not deserve to be scratched. But this is what Tortorella does, no matter who it is. Frost was heavily scratched early on. Joel Farabee was benched. Bobby Brink. The list goes on and on. It's what you sign up for with him behind the bench. And here's some of the answers that we've gotten in the replies, because there were a handful of them. This is from Tasty Dub. Love this move. Herb Brooks vibes. Nobody's safe, especially during the most important stretch of the season. So far, Frost and Farabee have been playing better, and Coots has been non-existent. So I agree with Lolo here that Frost and Farabee seem to respond to the message sent by Tortorella. That's why I do anticipate Sean Couturier finding the lineup again and then having some sort of push. But if you remember, there's no goal for Delorier when they had the push against Boston and there started to be a spark. And then, can they come back? Unfortunately, Felix Sandstrom let up a really tough goal that shouldn't have went in, that totally ruined the spark, and it fizzled out that run that the Flyers were on at the time. But without Sean Couturier's play, you don't get the opportunity for Delorier to net one. So he has been helping and impacting this team more than Tortorella is giving him credit for. And that's why I do think that it's a little crazy. Philly fan 04 says, Coots has been playing awful for a good week and a half. I disagree. He's actually been playing better. But he continues, maybe he needs a break. Sitting him one game during a rebuild won't kill us or won't kill him. And yeah, I mean, it's not about killing him in hockey terms, of course, or, just destroying him insanely. It's just about it being too aggressive. And you got to play that line and toy with that line where you can't overstep and be too much of a douche, because in the world of hockey, Peter Laviolette bounces around a billion times. Ken Hitchcock bounces around. John Tortorella bounces around. Your shelf life is so tiny and so short that if you do things like this, it's even shorter than what's normal. And what's normal is very short, because things can definitely get out of hand when you make decisions like this, and that's just reality of it. Robert says, accountability with 6 exclamation points. I've been watching the Flyers since 1967, and way too long there has been no accountability. Well, damn it, play well, play responsibly, or don't play. That's the typical Broad Street Bullies, Robert. I appreciate you chiming in and sharing your thoughts on Twitter, but that's where I think the old school goes a little too old school. There is a big difference between scratching your captain with the ceiling of Sean Couturier and him playing his best hockey. You do have to give the players who deserve the wiggle room an opportunity to work out of the funk that they're in. They are great players for a reason. Every time Brad Marchand has a -2 game and doesn't score, is he just ripped out of the lineup in Boston? No, because Brad Marchand deserved the opportunity to work himself out of a few games where maybe he doesn't play his best hockey, especially when you're coming off of an injury that Couturier is coming off of. You need to realize that that's real, okay? It's not just fake. Dude is literally a bum since becoming a captain. I don't agree with that. Tortorella is 100% correct. What has Sean Couturier done over the last 20 or so games? Sometimes a game or two off is good for a player. Remember, he may have hit a wall. He did miss the last 2 seasons. So, Michael, I agree with that. But if the conversation between Couturier and Tortorella at that point is something along these lines, I think it's different. Yo, man, I'm just going to sit you down for a game or two, let you rejuvenate. I know you've been playing better than you did maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We love the direction of the way you're playing, but, just a game off or so. And, yeah, that's all. That's different. This is not that. This does not seem to be like that. This is 2 people insanely disagreeing on where they both stand. And Torch loves that. He's been very vocal about that since he's been here. When Tony DeAngelo was here, he said, yeah, man, I love that he's got fire and comes into my office and says he disagrees with not playing and this and that. And it's their right to feel like they should be in the lineup. And he probably wants them to have that kick in the ass and that adrenaline rush of, dude, you're wrong. I don't think you're right here. He wants the players to stand their ground. But if the conversation was, I'm just going to sit down for a game or two, but it's also the most important stretch of the season. What bigger of a run do we have right now than the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Boston Bruins, the Carolina Hurricanes? To do that to your leader is a huge smack in the face. But they won last night, so what are you going to do? That's John Tortorella pushing the button, I guess. So those are my thoughts on where we stand with the Flyers and where they are currently. I still believe they're getting in the playoffs. It's going to come down to the wire. It's going to come down to that last little run here during the backstretch of the season, because they're not good enough to run away from it with any of these other teams like Detroit, like Washington, like the Islanders being in the mix, even though the Islanders, you watch that scoreboard every night and, it's just something that you're monitoring. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to the final few games, but I do expect them to be in the playoffs, and I can't wait because we see clips of Wayne Simmons, okay, because Wayne Simmons, he's retired as a Flyer, and I see all over social media his hat trick against the New York Rangers in Game 6. Electric. And I guess we'll end on this note, because my side topic of yesterday's radio show was with one of my all-time favorites, Wayne Simmons, retiring as a Flyer. What non-superstar do you miss? I just didn't want people to say AI, Dr. J, Brian Dawkins. Yeah, I miss all of them. We all miss all of them. We want to see them play every day. But Wayne Simmons is a different type of character, all right? He scored 30 goals a few seasons in a row there, but he sits in front of the blue paint. He drops the gloves for the fellas. He blocks shots, veteran presence, locker room guy. One of my all-time favorites. I love Simmer to death. Wayne Simmons was unbelievable. And we got some pretty good ones. Someone mentioned, not Dan Carcillo, they mentioned Zach Rinaldo. We got a Simone Gagne, of course. There were more hockey than I expected. Probably because I led with someone hockey-related. Who else was there? There was another Flyer. Eric Desjardins was listed. Keith Jones was listed. There was another one, man. It's escaping me. But it was a lot of fun. Congratulations to Simmer, and I can't wait for us to give him the nod and the appreciation he deserves for retiring and getting that one-day Fly Guys contract. All right, everybody, I love you to death. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you all on the next one.